All right, Adam.
Final session of the weekend. Hello.
The
So
final,
a lot of people, a lot of chatting. This has been a great weekend.
It's been an incredible weekend, incredible projects, incredible creators, people in general, conversations. Like, when we had the idea to do this, I thought it would be cool if we could pull everyone together for it. And it definitely exceeded my expectations. The quality of the conversation and just the range of things we were able to kind of dive into. It's just been awesome. So, if you've missed anything over the course of the weekend, you certainly have my encouragement to go check out the different streams. These things are all over all of the different channels because we're, streaming simultaneously to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. So, this stuff is all over the place, and wherever you choose to watch it is great. And if you also feel like liking and subscribing on your favorite channel, we would certainly appreciate that. On YouTube especially, because I think one of the things, I was going to end with this, but I'll say it now instead. One of the things I think we got out of the weekend is we're going to keep this going. I mean, it's been fun. It's been valuable. I mean, certainly for us and hopefully for other people. So, we're going to keep having these reverse event, conversations. So if we, there are some projects that we wanted to connect with that we couldn't get the scheduling worked out for. So we'll circle back around with those. We'll keep having these sorts of panel discussions. But I think it's a really fun format for us to, be able to connect with people and, share what we're up to and learn about what other people are up to. And we're also going to take all of these sessions from the weekend and compile them in one place on a web page. So we'll have this kind of archive of the whole event. And we're going to put out audio versions of all of this as podcasts as well. So just be another place for people to discover this really kind of awesome batch of conversations.
So if you weren't sick of us by the end of this weekend, we're going to give you plenty of chances to be thoroughly nauseated by over the next month. That's what I'm hearing, basically. Yes.
Yes, basically so. Yes. So if you like us, this is good news. If you didn't like us this weekend, you're definitely not going to like us.
But let's still here by now. The chances are it's the former, not the latter. But still, you never know. Someone could just be feeling masochistic.
This is true. But let's get to the task at hand here, which is after a lot of buildup. One of the things that we had the privilege to do this weekend, which was very exciting, was to unveil a lot of what we've been building on the platform side and kind of how this first batch of digital collectible comics is going to appear in its collectible edition format and its NFT format. And so now, at long last, we're going to end the event by giving you all of the details about how do you actually get your hands on these things? How do you get these collectible editions into your wallet?
Yes.
But before we get to those details, tease, we're going to just quickly recap what are these things and what are the different series that you have the opportunity to collect. There is a whole panel about this. If you saw that, you'll have heard some of the juicy details. But we want to just recap the different series and stories. So up first is Darkland. And Adam, give us a little recap of what Darkland is about.
Darkland, Evan described it best. I've been describing it as Game of Thrones in hell. That did not do it justice. Evan, I think, described it best. He says it is Game of Thrones meets Veep set in hell, which I think is perfect. This is a project that Evan, we met him a year and a half ago, and he sent us, I think, 3 different scripts of like, hey, these could work as a comic, and Darkland was one of those scripts. And I remember reading the first 2 and was like, no, they're fine, but there's nothing here. And I started reading Darkland. And the first scene was these like slightly weird creatures, and they're eating and they're talking, and you realize that they're in some kind of underworld, potentially, whatever is they're eating. And then the kind of scene pulls back, and you realize that they're actually tucking into a live person on the table at the dinner table, and they're all demons, and it's set in hell.
Tucking
like,
in, meaning eating, by the way.
Eating. Oh yeah, eating the person who's on the table, and they're like carving him like he's this like fresh meat, and many people would be horrified by that. I was like, I'm all fucking in. This is awesome. and so that was the one we came back, and Evan then goes, well, funnily enough, that's the one I wrote. He had totally hidden it from us, and so it became this fantastic graphic novel.
Yeah.
And I could not be more excited for it.
Evan Shapiro, by the way, just to make
Evan Shapiro, yes.
Any confusion, Evan, you know, yes. So Evan Shapiro, creator and writer. Frank Calico is the artist for Deadland, or Dark Land. A few lands and towns to get clear on in this collection, but the creators of Dark Land, and yeah, it's one where, you know, I think this is a broken record because I think we're very proud of all of these series, but to see this kind of go from initial concept, you know, now to fully finished, you know, graphic novel has just been one of those wonderful things to see come together. And, you know, this gets a little into the weeds, and we can save the majority of this conversation for another time. But even in the sense of how this was built and put together for our format, you know, there were some things that Frank came up with that were new on the production side, that, you know, maybe things that inform ways that we deal with this later on. So, you know, part of the fun of this is just finding ways with each creative team to make the best thing for them, and then figuring out how to bring all those elements together to make the best expression of that thing for you, the collector and reader of this material. So
this is also the biggest, I think, worth saying. This is the biggest of the seasons that we've got. This is actually a 13. Of course, it's hell, right? It's got to be, but it's 13 episodes.
13 episodes.
There's a lot of story. It's the first of, I think, 4 planned seasons. It's great. It's poking fun at all sorts of stuff. It's going to insult all sorts of different people. It's going to offend or other all sorts of people. But it's also kind of a wonderful look at what it means to be human and the games that people play around that. So I think it's an incredible piece.
Also worth noting, just as you consider collecting this and diving into Darkland, that, you know, it does deal with some pretty mature themes as well. So you see the art style, and it's, you know, very fun and actiony, and, you know, kind of anime manga influenced, and, you know, has all these things going for it that make it really appealing. But, you know, there's I won't say explicit, but it's certainly running up against kind of, you know, I like to say, if you can do it on Game of Thrones, we can do it in Darkland. So just use that as a barometer for kind of where the content is as you're considering, you know,
very true.
Any sensitivity to that. But if you don't, like the rest of us, and certainly us, then it's delightful in its willingness to kind of, did it just go there? Oh, yes.
Yes, hard R-rated. And
hard R-rated, but absolutely fantastic. So can't wait for people to get their hands on Darkland. That is series number 1 in this first collection of EPICS. So moving on to series number 2, the Bushidos, and certainly no one more qualified on here to talk about Bushidos than Adam, being the writer of this series as well.
Yes. With such fun being had with this. Evan had kind of pioneered really the storytelling, kind of teaching storytelling within an existing PFP community, and then starting to kind of illustrate and develop an illustrated lore and all this wonderful stuff with the GSA. We then kind of took a lot of what he had learned there and really went into the Bushidos community, which was thriving, just fantastic group of people. And Jeremy Booth, who decided he, you know, wanted to do these comics of it, was like, great, let's open this up. We came in, we taught, and really everything that is on here has been inspired by the community and the work we did with that. It's very much, we work together to write the history, the lore, to establish the guidelines of this world, and then really to map out the plot. And obviously, in the writing process, one digs in and kind of fixes and tweaks and does all sorts of stuff. But this is, you know, 90% of what is on this page ends up coming from the community, which has been fantastic. The original concept was that there was this world of portals, and these portals could lead kind of from this world all over the universe, all over the galaxy, all over the universe. And then one day these portals mysteriously shut for no good reason. and the world falls into chaos. And then 300 years later, one of these portals cracks open, and someone delivers these magical swords that that turn the Bushidos, which are, you can see up on screen, are this kind of sci-fi samurai protagonists, turns them into Ronin, which then allows them to travel through the portals and defeat the enemy beyond. So that was the original concept for this, and it evolved really into this kind of parable metaphor for colonialism and invasion, and really kind of what if the English had arrived on the shores of America and really kind of been absorbed into Native American culture, and then fought against the other arrivals coming in. And that was very much the kind of genesis of this idea. So it's this kind of warlord looking to expand her dominion sends a group of her elite soldiers to this planet full of portals, because she realizes if she can capture this planet, she can then expand her empire kind of infinitely. But they arrive on the planet and realize they rather like it, and so they defend it from their own kind of authoritative power. And now it's it is actually, the portals do still get shut in the mythology, but it's actually the Bushidos, it's the heroes that shut them to prevent this invasion from coming through. And now 300 years later, society has kind of fallen apart, and now the portals are opening again. And so a group of young warriors have to set out on a quest to reunite the Bushido clans from around the world, to fight what they know is this kind of impending existential threat. It's great stuff. The art is fantastic. I think it's a terrific. Obviously, I'm biased. It's a terrific story. I think it's will satisfy both the sci-fi fans and the kind of fantasy fans, but with this grounding in Japanese mythology and imagery, which is awesome and unique.
Illustrated by a graphic novelist named Nicholas Castell, and just amazing work. It's gorgeous. And as a compliment to Bushido's, which the first season of the Bushido story will be in this batch of Epic editions. And then we just talked in the last panel, next year we will release a collection of anthology stories, which were all illustrated by different artists, based on stories that were taken directly from the community of Bushido's holders as well. So really cool kind of 1-2 punch of ways of exploring the world of Bushido's. And so if this is a world you collect and go into, you'll have the chance to kind of get into all kinds of different facets of this mythology and of this universe. And it's just gorgeous all the way around. Yeah.
And a rather beautiful illustrated lore as well. So there's actually kind of 3 different parts to this collection, which is amazing. Exactly.
So Bushido's season 1 in this collection of Epic editions. That brings us to Hex 11. The tagline for Hex 11 is if you mash up Blade Runner and Harry Potter, you get the world of Hex 11. And I will say, this is, we talked to the creators in a panel yesterday about these different stories as well. And there are 2 things about Hex 11. One is, I think it's just a brilliant concept for a universe. It just immediately goes like, yes, like that's awesome. And the other way they talk about it is that, if magic had been discovered as a technology, what would that world look like? So using kind of the mashup of, being able to harness mystical forces, but tying that to the world of technology and coding and, kind of being able to download a spell, for example. So many interesting ideas around that. And then at the same time, it's an action adventure story. It's a comedy. It's a romantic
coming of age
story. I mean, there's so many different elements in here. Have to shout out that it's the rare all-female creative team that is unfortunately uncommon in many parts of the comics world, but just fully incorporated and wonderfully at the source of this material. And Lisa, who does the artwork for it, as you can see, is just insanely talented.
Well, I mean, it's fun, right? It's okay.
Yeah, Lisa K. Weber, the artist, and also the initial creator of the story in the world, and then written with Kelly Sue Milano. So just again, amazing creators, incredible series. There's a lot of this material that has actually been published in print. They are into their third print version of the graphic novel. We have adapted a lot of that now to the Macroverse format, the first season of which is what you'll be collecting in this Epic edition. And notably, their first NFT, their first minted piece will be this edition of Hex 11. So welcoming them into the world of the blockchain and Web3 with this collection. You will not be disappointed if you like these kinds of genres and imagery.
If you are even remotely a Harry Potter fan, especially if you ever had a hankering to be Hermione Granger, this is right up your alley.
Yeah. 100%. Or if you know someone who
yes,
that bill.
Exactly.
Awesome. Moving on to Remind. We talked to Jason a few times over the weekend, Jason Brubaker. I think Remind is really notable for a few reasons. So, we talk about things in, art collecting and NFTs where, the history of a particular artist might be meaningful, as they move into this space, as they have their first things, kind of recognized as NFTs and kind of cemented into the blockchain for all eternity. So you heard from Jason a few times over the weekend, Jason Brubaker. Jason was a concept artist on the Kung Fu Panda movies at DreamWorks, and then started Remind while he was there as a webcomic, at the very beginning of when webcomics were starting to be a thing. So kind of early days of the internet. It took him 7 years to complete this story, and he initially released it as these very beautiful hardcover graphic novels that he did through Kickstarter. He was very early on Kickstarter, one of the early successes on Kickstarter. And when we met Jason and started to adapt his material to Macroverse into this format, one of the things I love about the way that has turned out is, each time we adapt existing material to the format, it's a creative exercise in and of itself, because we're kind of finding a language to bring that to life in this new kind of version, this new expression of that material. And with Jason's work, it's almost like he never knew that this was going to happen, but it's just an incredibly natural adaptation where it really just feels like it was meant to be consumed this way. It feels like it was meant to be read this way, as this very cinematic, vibe and experience to it. And it's absolutely beautiful. Again, as you can see from his artwork, Remind is a story that blends a lot of elements of sci-fi and fantasy with again sort of a coming of age story, a kind of a question around, are you what you look like? Are you who you are on the inside? There's some questions of kind of faith and how that kind of plays into that perception of identity. So we deal with some pretty interesting themes throughout the course of the story, and yet on the surface level, it's the story of a cat that gets his brain swapped with a underwater lizard person. And so you can take all of those themes and kind of view it through this, kind of coming of age, kind of all ages graphic novel style story. If you're a fan of something like Miyazaki films, then this is absolutely something you will be in love with. So again, just beautiful, and Jason's first NFT on first thing on the blockchain as well. So if you like the first, actually all of these will count as first because this is the first collectible digital comics. But as Jason, as a creator, this will be his first NFT collection as well. So very cool. And one final note on Remind, we haven't talked about this weekend, but you can see this little Friends and Fiends logo over here, which is a little bit of a tease for something that is coming next year as well. So, we have a long-ranging partnership and relationship with Jason and his body of work and where that all goes. So, if you like this vibe and this, the concept of this story, there will also be lots of nooks and crannies and things that you won't even believe are coming off of that partnership. It can be very cool. So that is Remind. And now, last but certainly not least, is Dead Town. So Adam, tell us a little bit about Dead Town.
Dead Town, it is a film noir. We're blanking, of course, now. I was so focused on Remind. So no, it is a film noir kind of classic private detective story told in a world overrun by zombies. So it stars our hero Chan, who you can see in the middle with a cigarette out of his mouth, who starts life as kind of a gang leader a few years after the apocalypse, having lost his family in the zombie apocalypse. He's a gang leader, and then he takes this young girl under his wing, and it's a story of him kind of reconnecting with his humanity, having lost his own family and lost his humanity in the process. The story's great. I think it is this kind of this very much this film noir kind of private detective story, but set in this world of zombies. So the zombies are very much a present threat, but it's not really about them in quite the same way as it is in some places. It's about the human struggles within that. And visually, Stephen Perkins is the artist on this, and we talked about this a bit yesterday. We really kind of created the series around his art, and we developed the TAP story around Dead Town using what he did. So he is kind of intimately involved with everything we're doing, which is amazing. And his art is fantastic, and it is this very kind of rich black and white style. And the purpose of that is a reflection of our hero's kind of emotional state. So when we do flashbacks, they are in this kind of technicolor world of happiness, and literally there will be a sequence in there where the color drains from the world as he realizes family is gone. So it's again,
yes,
hard R-rated, not it's zombies and death and killing people, and it's a good noir horror film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to reiterate what you said, because I think one of the things that I love about the series, and it's something you don't really discover until you get into it. So we encourage you to collect this one as well, so you can get into it. But the stylistic choice is not just a stylistic choice. It really has a narrative purpose, in the world. And as we have plans for the evolution of the series, it will become even more of it will have even more impact in the narrative. And so, as Adam said, the choice for black and white is, we both love the style of film noir, and it was one of the inspirations for this in the early days. And actually, I think that the initial concept came from a time when I was watching a ton of film noir movies and kind of really loving that world. And The Third Man as kind of a stylistic, very much a stylistic inspiration for this. But, we felt like we didn't want it to just be black and white because black and white looks cool or because noir is cool. We wanted it to really be driven by the story itself. And so in this case, as Adam said, it's really the emotional state of our main character that is the reason that the world looks like this. We're kind of not just seeing the world and experiencing the story through his eyes. We're actually literally seeing the whole world that we're living in through his state in at this point in the story. So I just think that's really cool to give ourselves a couple of kudos here. But written by Adam and I, illustrated by Stephen Perkins, as Adam said. And the full first season is complete and in this edition, and season 2 is in production now as well, which Stephen just keeps getting better and better, I gotta say. Amazing stuff. So those are the first 5 series that were released, are the first titles in the first collection of our Epic editions. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of how is this going to work and how do you get your hands on them. So as you can see, 5 different series. We just talked about the different storylines. So, each of them will be considered one thing as we talk about these different details. So when we talk about, quantity and price and those sorts of things that, will apply to each of them individually, you can collect one, you can collect all five, so forth and so on. So, you kind of take the ones that you want, or there might be some benefits, to having all five, which won't necessarily immediately be available, but that's just the way we think about things. The more you participate, we are determined that we will give you more for that. So what's the supply? There will be 1,000 of each of these, so 1,000 of each series. That will be the total supply. There will never be more of these particular editions. And so, one of the things that I want to kind of just touch on for a second here, the way we think about this is that there are two places to find yourself when you're looking at these stories and wanting to get into these worlds. There are kind of two places that you might be. One is, I really want to own and collect these things and have this kind of ownership of this new exciting kind of thing, this new technology, the NFT versions, the ability to buy, sell, trade, do all the things that you could do with a collectible, and that's what these are for. So these are meant to be very limited edition, very collectible. We believe that the potential for them to, not financial advice, not making any promises, but the potential for these to increase in value as the franchises gain more prominence, as we continue to build them out. That potential is certainly there. So, if you are in that mindset of wanting to collect and own, then there are these 1,000, copies of each of these available for that. It will not be the only way to access the story. So, on the flip side of that, it will be released first in these collectible editions. Later, they will come to our mobile app, and you will be able to read them through our subscription on the mobile app, but you won't own them. So that's the trade-off. You can own them or you can access them. You're going to access them and have the story first if you own them, but you will ultimately be able to access the stories no matter where you find yourself on that spectrum. But we really want to create this two-sided approach where very limited edition, highly collectible exists on one side, and massive access to anyone that wants to get engaged in the story on the other side, and then lots of place to play in the middle. And, that's what you'll see from us, as we continue to build out the ecosystem and the platform and some of the other things that we've talked about over the course of the weekend. So 1,000 of each series. Now, how does that break down? Inside of each of those 1,000, there are 5 tiers of rarity. And I'm not going to spend the time to kind of break down the exact percentages, but just know that in the 5 tiers of rarity, so we'll use Darkland as an example, 1,000 available to collect in the world of Darkland, 5 tiers of rarity within that 1,000, going from the most, let's say the least rare, kind of let's say we'll just call it the collector's edition, and we'll specifically name the names of them later, but let's say the collector's edition is the least rare, still very rare since there's only 1,000, but going from that to from a kind of I wish I had the names in front of me, but let's say the collector's edition.
Yeah, that's all good.
Going to a more rare edition, going to a animated edition, and then ultimately going, and when I say animated, the cover art is animated, not
the whole thing. Yes. And
then at the very top of the rarity scale, each of these has a 1-of-1 piece of artwork for its cover. And so you've got the chance when you mint these collections to get that 1-of-1, that truly exclusive piece of art in this in each of the 1,000 editions. And so what's cool about that is, every piece is incredible. We worked with some very well-known comics artists. We've worked with some very well-known crypto artists and kind of everyone in between to bring those two worlds together in this collection. And the opportunity to get that 1-of-1 and any of the kind of more limited editions really adds something very special to the collection. So it's really going to be cool to see how people respond to those different tiers. But the critical thing is you'll mint whatever you decide to mint, and then the reveal of which tier you got will come after the mint, but you'll be able to start reading the story and engaging with the content immediately. So that's kind of the double edge to how that mechanic is going to work when you mint it. So 5 tiers of rarity. Now, probably the big question is, what is the price? And I want to give a little context for this before we reveal the price, because I think there are 2 ways of looking at this, and we have had months of conversation about what the price point should be. And so again, looking at this spectrum of access and collectibility, ownership and access, kind of looking at these 2 sides of how we want people to experience this content, we really do want to make these collectible editions, just incredible experiences, incredible quality, just crafting this thing that, has never really been possible before, while also delivering access to the biggest audience across the board. So, we're looking at these 2 sides, and how do you kind of find the right price, for these very limited collectible editions. And we don't want it to be crazy. We don't want it to be insane where we're completely eliminating people from being able to get their hands on them. We also want to really recognize that, as much work as it is to create a great PFP collection, and we've done that with Deadtown. There are over 1,000 assets in the Deadtown collection that Steven created. So lots of work can go into making those collections. It is nothing compared to the work that goes into making these series. And I want people to keep in mind, this is not one episode. This is not one issue. You're getting full seasons of these stories, a minimum of 8 episodes. And in the case of Darkland, 13 episodes, and, ranging in between there. So, there is months of work that has gone into each of these, and in some cases, years of work that has gone into each of these collections. And so it also didn't seem right to price them, kind of the way that you would price a PFP. And so we looked to actually the traditional comics world a little bit and said, what does the highest end kind of collectible edition, the most beautiful hardcover, the most exclusive kind of collector's edition, the most limited edition for, something in the traditional world, what does that look like? And so we kind of took all of that and put it in the blender and had a lot of conversation, a lot of debate about that. And we finally landed on the right price, which is 10 ETH per edition, right? Yeah, I think everybody's going to feel really good about that.
Yep. I think so. That's fine.
Checks all the boxes. Just kidding. Okay, not 10 ETH. We hope that it will go to 10 ETH, but we're not going to start at 10 ETH. We're going to go 1 ETH per collection, right?
Still, it's acceptable.
I mean, down seems acceptable, right? No, okay, all right, fine. We'll adjust a little bit from there. This is the real price. So for each edition, it's going to be 0.25 ETH for each edition. So, not crazy cheap, not crazy expensive, but again, I think putting the right price on the amount of effort and the amount of love and care and craft that has gone into each of these series. And at the same time, setting a little bit of a bar for how valuable we believe that these are, and how much we believe that the people behind creating them should be, rewarded for the work that they've put in. So I think it kind of checks all those boxes in a way that seems really fair for the amount of content that's coming in each of these packages. And yes, you nailed it. So 0.25 for each edition. And then, again, the other things that we talked about to be revealed after the minting. And so when is the mint date? Coming up very quickly, November 12th of this year. So we're a little more than a month out. You'll be able to get your hands on these. Wow. It's going to be a really exciting time to finally get these into people's hands. So we're a little more than a month out. And how do you get a hold of them? You're going to get a hold of them by registering yourself ahead of time on premint.xyz. The page for that is live right now. And actually, the easiest way to find that page is to go to macroverse.com and you'll see a bunch of links kind of all over the site right now, which give you the opportunity to register for pre-mint. That'll take you directly to the page. In the preparation for all of this weekend, I foolishly realized that the pre-mint link, which is up there right now, I think the description says something like the first collectible NFT comics are coming soon. I think that's kind of like as far as we got with it as we were setting that up. So you're in the right place with that meager description. We will update the pre-mint page to reflect more of what we've shown this weekend. But those are all the details for the very first collectible digital comics that we've been building and working on for all this time. And we're just so excited to get into people's hands.
Yes. And I think the final thing I want to add there in terms of, obviously lots of debate about the price and we've explored so many options about how this works and how to skin this and all that kind of fun stuff. I think the only other thing it might be worth mentioning is that these collector's editions might come with some added benefits down the road.
Yeah. Oh, I think unquestionably they will. So yeah, unquestionably they will. So I think, I don't want to say what it is just yet.
Nope.
But what we will say is that we're working on some things that, I think we've said it this way a bunch of times. Everything we do is guided by a certain set of, kind of first principles or ways of thinking. And the very core of that is that you participate, the more you're going to get back. And so the bigger we build these franchises together, there are some ways that we're going to be able to give back to the people that are the most engaged in doing that we're not quite ready to talk about, but is going to be really exciting for all of us that choose to go down that road. So that I think is what we can fairly say.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be very cool to see how this all develops, and we cannot wait to get these into people's hands to play with. So those are the long-awaited mint details for how you will collect this first batch of EPICS. And, as with everything that we do, we'll also learn from this first collection, and I'm sure we'll, find new ways to iterate as we go on into the next collection and so forth and so on. Everything will get, streamlined and smoother as we go. But this first batch has, been a labor of love from everyone. And so for anyone that's listening, that's been involved in creating this, I want to say thank you to all of the creators, Steven, who not only does the art for Deadtown, but has been instrumental in, not only figuring out our format with us, but also really hands-on. I mean, he has touched just about everything of this material. The development team, our partners at Pagsy, and figuring out all the tech that we've needed to pull this off. Just unbelievable job from top to bottom, bringing new things to the space, on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. I mean, just hats off to you guys.
Incredible watching. Yeah, every time we're like, hey, how about can we do this? And basically every time it's like, yeah, we can figure that out. It's
Or even crazier to me is half the time they're like, oh yeah, we've got something that kind of works like that. We can do that. So they've been amazing. The creators have been amazing. The community, the people that we get to spend time with in Discord, the people that have, kind of come to align themselves with our vision for all of this. We just cannot say how much it means to us for you to be there day in and day out, having conversations, connecting with each other, connecting with us, playing in this playground. I mean, it really is helping this, this dream that, certainly Adam and I and Ricky, but, Adam and I have been working together for 20 years, dreaming of this kind of stuff, making this kind of stuff for other people, wanting to help other people make it for themselves, make it for ourselves, creating something where more people can come in and, find their own voice and make their own content. And this really is the culmination of at least a decade's worth of work and effort to get to this moment. So it's incredibly meaningful from everyone that has participated in every way that you've participated. Even if you're just discovering this today, we really appreciate you giving us a little bit of your attention over this weekend to learn more about us, engage in this conversation around kind of new ways of storytelling, new possibilities for entertainment. I mean, it's really what we're here to do, is to help to drive something forward where things that weren't possible before are suddenly possible, and being able to take advantage of that for ourselves and helping other people take advantage of that. That's really why we're doing all of this.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of my wrap up for this presentation, and also kind of the wrap up for the weekend. So
it is.
Man, what an incredible 48 hours. Again, just thanks to everyone that participated in this event. It will not be the end of Reverse events, as we talked about at the beginning. With that, we're going to be in Discord hanging out. So again, discord.gg/Macroverse. And, I'll be there for at least an hour or so. If anyone wants to come in and ask questions or just chat about the weekend or dive a little more deeply into any of the topics that we talked about, would love to engage with anyone and everyone there.
Cracking a virtual champagne. Well, no, I'll be cracking real champagne. We'll be in the same room as you.
Damn it. Taunt. That's more of a taunt than a tease, I think. But nonetheless, appreciate it.
Yes. No, what I should do is just do it on the live stream right now. I have my saber. Yes.
Oh, well, I think that becomes its own scheduled event. But Reverse will return, as we like to say at the end of James Bond movies. And we'll see you in Discord. I just want to see if there was any last thing I wanted to say. Last thing is, if you're coming to this on any of the channels, as we talked about, give it a like, a follow, or a subscribe. Help us, kind of grow the audience. We're trying to build new systems here, but while we're doing that, let's feed the algorithm that's going to bring more people into this conversation. And we appreciate that as well. So with that, I think we're signing off for this first Reverse weekend. I'm a little blown away by how awesome it was and how fun it was to kind of put all this together. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. So Adam, thank you for yes. And finally, thank you for being my partner in all of this, for being, the person other than my wife that I am what word am I looking for? Generally. You can tell it's been a couple of days. The person other than my wife and kids that I'm generally the most excited to just hang out and geek out with.
Very much.
So it's been a ride all of these years and for this weekend as well.
It will continue to be so, I suspect.
Continue to be so, indeed.
Fucking awesome.
Very good. I'll see you in Discord, and hopefully we'll see you, the watcher and listener, in Discord as well. I'm going to play our little graphic one more time, and then we are out. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.